Hi everyone, this is Toshio Okada. Welcome to Nikonama Okada Toshio Seminar, and today is October 21st. So I'm actually gonna start this week by talking about next week. Since next week, Princess Mononoke, directed by animation director Hayao Miyazaki, is finally gonna be broadcasted on a TV show, Friday Roadshow, and I know it is impossible to finish talking about this movie in just one seminar. So this week is gonna be a prep week for you guys, and I want you to watch this seminar before you watch the actual movie. I am gonna talk about how your impression of it changes drastically by thinking in a certain way. Then next week is gonna be a review week where I will ask you questions like, so, did you understand what that part of the movie meant? So, here is today's menu. The first half will be Princess Mononoke made 10 times more fun. Perfect guide of the first 10 minutes. So I will propose some perspectives on how to watch and understand the movie by explaining the first 10 minutes in details. Then we'll go over how Princess Mononoke is actually very erotic, as there are always sexual themes hidden in the anime of Miyazaki. So I will analyze them as usual. You can see the entire movie a bit differently by finding these out. In Princess Mononoke, it's not just about how to express, but how to not depict. By avoiding clarification, the movie keeps some scenes hidden without letting the audience know that they are actually sexually charged. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. On the second half, I will talk about how Princess Mononoke was actually a revenge towards Nausicaa. Unlike the first half where I discussed what is shown on the screen, in the second half, I'm gonna give more in-depth analysis on the makers of the film, such as what Miyazaki was fighting against, and I'm gonna give a brief preview of the next installment. I might go a little bit over time because there is something I want to talk about in details about the first 10 minutes of Princess Mononoke, and as a result, the latter half might become a little shorter. Well, I guess it'll end up being 45 minutes each, as usual. To be honest, I got absolutely exhausted while I was writing the resume for this week's seminar. I was doing this for like 5 days straight, you know? I got drained and now I'm thinking like, am I gonna finish everything in time? Let's just do it. So let's begin a complete guide to the first 10 minutes that makes Princess Mononoke 10 times more fun. This is the title scene of Princess Mononoke. As you can see, a huge text that says Princess Mononoke comes out on a screen, and you can see the patterns drawn in the back of it, right? This is a clay mask. It's a type of mask which has been excavated from a ruin of Jomon period and worn by its people, a mask made by burning its surface. These are the pictures, and you can find these images on Google. If you look in the back of the title scene, you can see these patterns. Even the storyboard says these are patterns painted on a clay mask in red-orange, but you can't really tell what it is by a glance, can you? So I got rid of the text Princess Mononoke out of this image. Now, this is it. Even so, you can't tell what's drawn here, so to make it more clear, how about I trace these lines? Sorry guys. I know what you're thinking, but why didn't you do this earlier? How's that? I hope it's more visible now. Can you see? So what's this? It's actually an image of a monster with one eye with a bunch of horns. What's drawn here is a pattern from Jomon period, but it's also an image of one-eyed monster with the head of the forest spirit attached onto it. You know how in the climax of Princess Mononoke, a god with the body of a deer and a face of a monkey called the forest spirit comes out? It's a drawing of one-eyed monster who is wearing its crown. This pattern was drawn in order to pass on the story of Ashitaka to future generations. Now, one eye stands for forging iron. In the past, people who lived in the mountains forged iron by mining for iron ore and iron sand and melting them. Because they stared at those burning forges with one eye closed, eventually all of them became blind. That's why there are many legends all over Japan which claim that there are one-eyed monsters living in mountains, and those legends usually originate from places where you could find mines. So think of it as a rule in Japan that blacksmiths are always one-eyed. And this picture represents a blacksmith who lost one eye. Meanwhile, it also represents that the person in the picture killed a god of the forest and received its horn. I'll talk more on the second half, but Princess Mononoke was a revenge match against Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, which Miyazaki didn't see as a complete success. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind was a fantasy, and Miyazaki took the same plot of that movie and made it into Princess Mononoke, but this time in more realistic approaches. So the two movies correspond with each other. For example, in the opening of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, you can see a tapestry on the screen that has been depicted in the future when Nausicaa's life has already become a legend. Then real Nausicaa appears on the screen for the first time in the movie by overlapping with the tapestry. Just like that, the image of the first appearance of Ashitaka in Princess Mononoke overlaps with the image of Ashitaka's legend depicted on the clay mask. So the two movies introduce the main characters in the exact same manner. Well, it was a lot more obvious in Nausicaa because you see the tapestry of her and then real Nausicaa appears. But you know, since Miyazaki made Princess Mononoke thinking, oh, Nausicaa was a bit childish, that's why it's hard to tell these in Princess Mononoke. In Princess Mononoke, the story of Ashitaka gets passed on to the village of his hometown and remains as a design that honors the adventure of their prince. It means that Ashitaka stays in Iron Town after the story in the movie ends and takes over the work in Iron Town, so it's natural to think that one of his eyes eventually go blind. As a result, I assume that he's later called One-Eyed Ashitaka. The design of the clay mask means that One-Eyed Prince Ashitaka defeats the forest spirit and inherits its horn. But why is this message of the clay mask so hard to read? As many of you have guessed, it's all because of Toshio Suzuki, the producer of Ghibli. It's because Toshio Suzuki changed the title of the movie into Princess Mononoke. Miyazaki was thinking Ashitaka Seki as the movie title, not Princess Mononoke. The word Seki is a word made up by Miyazaki, which means legend. So the movie title was supposed to be like The Legend of Ashitaka. If this was the title, then people would have thought, oh, then Ashitaka is the main guy. But at one point, the title changed. I actually experienced something similar when I made a movie called Royal Space Force The Wings of Aniamis. At first, our sponsor, Bandai, told us to title it The Wings of Rikuni. I said, no, she's not the main character, and that's so misleading. But they wanted a title like Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, you know, somebody of something. So they said, let's just go with The Wings of Rikuni because she does get wings in a figurative way. And said, the audience is gonna find out that she's not really the main character, so it's gonna be okay. Well, no, it's not okay to do such things. And that has been proven by how the movie title changed to Princess Mononoke. It changed the impression of the viewers a great deal. And Miyazaki hated this idea, but Suzuki forced it by officially announcing it during Friday Roadshow.